I was listening on, on CBC at noon yesterday. They were talking about, and Tom, I guess too, the new sort of new rules around, players basically having to wear a base layer in the locker room at all times, including, I think, when showering, if the showers are communal showers. It seems to me in lots of ways to make some sense, especially, say, for groups 16 and under, because of all the insecurities about body type, all that thing. And we're not necessarily just talking about, gay people or potentially trans people or anybody else, but there's a lot of young teenagers that are pretty self-conscious about themselves. So I'm just wondering, it seems to be a lot of people making a mountain out of a molehill out of this. I'm not sure how difficult it would be because everybody did all through COVID, to show up at the rink with your equipment on, put your skates on, and away you go. So just interested in both of your perspectives, sort of actively coaching right now.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I have never, all my coaching years and everything, never had any problems with that. About people. I mean, I would absolutely hate that if I had to go out in minus 25 and I wasn't showered stuff. I get chills, I get a cold. So, I remember coaching Mount Royal Women, and we had one of those spring camps, ID camps. So the Mount Royal Women, one of the girls told me about this. They're just getting changed, walking into the shower. All these girls out of high school, they'd kind of never seen this before. They were kind of shocked because we were in the men's room. It was in the spring, eh? And it was a communal shower. I know at St. we had about 6 stalls, I think, for the girls, and the men's was a communal one. But I don't know. I don't think it's a necessary rule. And who's going to enforce it?
Well, you guys have to.
No, I can't go in the room. I would be very discouraged.
Well, you have to find it. The rules say you have to find some parents that can go in the room.
Well, yeah. The under 13 thing last year I did, there was always a parent in the room, but with this team here, the under 15, there isn't.
Well, there's going to need to be now if you want to comply with Hockey Canada regulations.
Yeah, and so, USA Hockey, there needs to be, obviously they have, and I'm assuming it's Respect in Sport. It's called Safe Sport here in the United States, and there needs to be, locker room monitors, and yeah, it's the communal shower. I have to be honest. It's not as prevalent. Girls taking, well, especially the girl, and I have 3 daughters, and so them taking showers after events now, when, there's times obviously where we are going to, we're finishing a game, like it just happened in Penticton. And so there's they'll have a game and we can't get back to the hotel and we have to leave from, the rink and go to leave right away. And so I do know, again, hearing from my daughters that there will be girls will wear, swimsuits to shower, and I have an assistant that is in the room. And I guess that's a little more common here. I know when I first took over the boys program, the athletic director was, shocked that guys would shower naked. He would assume that they would shower with their swimsuits on. And so I know down here it seems to be as I say, I've had boys games where they they're out in 5 minutes. I'm like, you guys not shower. And so, yeah, I mean, it's something that, as I say, down here, they are, but more online with having kids shower in their swimsuits, right? So a little bit different, but what is exactly the rule? I haven't in Hockey Canada. I've heard some of it and I've read a article, but what does the rule specifically state?
Well, I don't know the actual language, but the gist of it is, you can't be naked in the locker room. You have to have a base layer on. People are wondering what a base layer is. Well, they make a mountain out of a molehill. Like, just have clothing on. It can be, whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to have a base layer on of some kind, and I believe it includes, like, if there are not individual showers, then you're supposed to shower with your base layer on or whatever. I think that's the gist of it. And I can see how logically there are some perhaps problems with it, but my other thought, I'll go on a different tangent. My other thought as you were speaking, Dom, was, here's Hockey Canada trying to do the right thing in terms of being inclusive for everybody and make it safe and inclusive for everybody. And now we've got the NHL going the exact opposite direction. Like, they don't want to touch anything with a 10-foot pole. They like to say they're inclusive, but they're really not. It's really pretty interesting.
I had a call from a Flatters gentleman who played with Vancouver Giants. He's now broadcasting, taking the course in to broadcast out of the state. And he asked me about, he asked me about the policy and what I thought. And I have discussed it with numerous people here. It sounds like in the U.S. they're ahead of the curve relative to dealing with this. I think the discomfort, possibly, of being naked, exposed, they've been through it a little bit more than we might have. I'm just not sure where they're at culturally in the States, but I believe that's going to become the norm here. Just our generation, we grew up much differently, and I had no idea about, haven't even given thought, even though being involved in female hockey, I assumed they just showered and were naked and that was it. But I could be wrong. I don't know, Tim. Our national teams, they do what we did, just undressed and showered and got dressed again. What was your opinion? Hi, Sammy. Great timing, Sammy. We're talking about Hockey Canada's policy and being covered, and
I love it. All right, what's everybody's opinion so far? Give me a synopsis.
Well, I think we need your opinion because we're sort of wondering what the necessity is of it. And I said, well, they wouldn't make a rule if there wasn't a necessity. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking that. And Dom had mentioned that they've been wearing seats and swimsuits in the U.S. on the male and female side, I believe, Dom. I'm not sure if that's correct, but it seems to be already sort of impacted in the United States and accepted than here. But I asked him, I had no idea. I am assuming that when you guys showered, everybody was naked and there were no issues. But I don't know either. I never thought about it. So,
and Sammy, just in a nutshell, I see the intent of the rule and I kind of agree with it. Because so many, not just teenage girls, but guys as well, are pretty body conscious, and there'd be a lot of stuff going on that this could help deflect. I see the intent of it, and for listening on CBC at noon yesterday, I just see a lot of people, including Bob Wilkie, I might add, Wally, making a mountain out of a molehill. This is going to create all kinds of problems, and I just don't quite see it myself.
And so what was Dom's take on in the US that it already happens?
Yeah, Dom, if you're trying to speak, you're muted.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, on the girls' side, like they'll wear their bathing suits to shower, or they'll wear t-shirt and shorts. Like when we've gone, we've had to shower, because we're going on a plane right away, going to the airport. They'll wear t-shirts and shorts, and on the boys' side, I think, I think boys generally have I've showered naked, and again, I'm assuming, but I know, speaking with my AD at the school, he was kind of like, no, they've got to shower with their bathing suits on, and so I think it's becoming more commonplace on the boys' side. I do still think that they probably still shower naked, but I do know, as I say, like in whether it's basketball, football, I mean, and again, I don't know, but I know that's been part of the dialogue. Definitely on the girls' side, they'll shower with their swimsuits on or with shorts and shirt.
Oh, you're on mute, Wally.
Sammy, what's your take on this issue?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting, now only really being in rec women's dressing rooms. So a couple different takes. Initially when it came out, I think like you guys, I was like, why? This seems like such an extra step, an extra layer. And then I thought about my journey in hockey, where, the first time I saw another girl play was actually the Olympic team. So I never saw girls playing. I didn't know how it worked in girls' locker rooms. But for me, my journey growing up, I was always in the boys' locker room, and they always went to the toilet stall to change, and I usually came with my spandex and t-shirt on. And that's what allowed me to be a part of the team, was this rule. I guess it's just this unwritten rule that was always there. And even when I went to Stanford, I can remember the first time that I played for the men's team, the first couple practices, I had my own locker room. And then the guys started to realize that I had this giant space and they were all smushed into one tiny room. And so gradually guys started to come over and say, can I change here? Like, I'll just change in the bathroom, and then can I put my gear on? And then slowly it started to be half and half, and I started to be integrated into the team like everybody else. And so I think, we did it unknowingly that this allowed me to play. So then I think to, kids that are going through any gender questioning issues, or maybe aren't as comfortable, that this would be exactly what they need to stay in the sport. Otherwise, they're not going to want to change in front of other people. They feel really uncomfortable. And when I see it at my hockey school too, most of the little girls are going into stalls to change. Like, they are not changing in front of the coaches, in front of everybody else in there. I also found it interesting when I got to Stanford and was in track and field, that in every other sport or dressing room that you go to that's a women's locker room, you have shower stalls, and only in a hockey locker room is it open. And in fact, on my rec teams, I would say the only women that shower after a game, and this is across the board in sort of the rec leagues that I play in, are the women that played NCAA or a high level of hockey. The rest of the women do not shower. They go home and shower. They just think, why would I shower in front of everybody else? This is not anything I've ever done before. And, growing up in the game, that's just kind of what we did. So it kind of makes you think about why we do it that way, why it's been that way. And maybe this is just a good stepping stone to, putting some thought into, what is keeping kids maybe out of the game and uncomfortable in the game, and allowing everybody to be a part of the game. So I see it as a really great thing. I think that it can be, talked about in a positive way so that it is inclusive, and it doesn't have to be something that, people take to the extremes to think that it's changing hockey culture or changing anything. I guess at the end of the day, Wally, it's what allowed me to play. It's the only thing that allowed me to play. There's never ever extra hockey dressing rooms or anything like that. When I was growing up, there's no women's toilet stalls you could go in that had skate mats or anything. So I had to be in the dressing room. And so I guess that, I don't know if it's I don't know who implemented this or started it within Hockey Canada, but I do think that long term, and I think, like Dom said, it kind of already happens. So why not allow it to flourish, I guess.
And that's a pretty interesting story, Sammy, how you kind of came to it sort of accidentally at Stanford. And, I'm not sure it's, directed just only at people questioning their genders or whatever, but lots of teenage kids have a lot of body issues and
puberty. I can remember the first boy too in our dressing room that had something happen in the shower that was that he didn't want to happen, and that stayed with him. Like, that happened when we were 12 and stayed with him till he was 18, and everybody knew it. I knew it, everybody knew it, and it was like, it probably happens to everybody, but like, so just not having those tags for young children, that are going through puberty and going through all of that. Maybe, I don't know, Tim. You guys have been in men's hockey locker rooms. There's a hierarchy, obviously, and I don't know how all of that happens once they go past the stalls into the changer. I don't know what happens on the other side of the stall, but
I remember, I think as early as grade 7 or grade 8. I'm not sure how or what the occasion was, but I don't know whether we were cleaning or we're doing something. But I got to go in the girls' locker room and realized, oh my God, they have their own showers in here. Like, they have separate stalls, and I'm like, why is that? And that was 60 years ago, or whatever. And it just it's just very interesting, the whole area. As I mentioned, Sammy, just before you got on, we've got Hockey Canada trying to do the right thing in terms of making people feel safe and that sort of thing, and including everybody. And now we got the NHL running away from the same thing, very shamefully, I might add. Like, they're just a bunch of old men that are scared to be on the right side of issues. How could it possibly hurt anyone if Dominic Pittis decided to use rainbow tape on his stick to make a statement? How could that possibly hurt anyone, hurt his teammates or whatever? It's just so pat.
I think it comes down to the NHL for money and who their fan base. Who they think their fan base is, which is that, I'm not going to throw people under the bus, but the Barstool community that, just to put, not to paint everybody with the same brush stroke, but like, if you make any comments on social media about anything like this within the hockey world, instantly it just gets like trashed. Or if, women say anything within the hockey world. So I think the NHL realizes those are their fan base, and that's who lots of their money is coming from. It's coming from all sides, right? And they say they want to be inclusive, but do they really? Like, do they want to turn those people off? That is, a huge segment of hockey currently. Like, Tim, I think it's got to be a money issue, because a lot of those guys at the highest level in the game and in hockey, and they're not bad people. Like, they have families, they've gone through a lot, and yet they're still making these decisions. So I don't know.
Well, I was listening, and what started the thing is one Russian on one team refused to wear the pride jersey, and then a couple of guys, and there was a few guys on every team said it conflicted with their religious views, you know, and so they just kiboshed the whole deal. That was kind of the
Yeah, but then like
library.
Black History Month gets looped into that, and then
Well, they've
like-
eliminated everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
they eliminated everything.
Yeah, very mature response.
I know. Seems so.
Why can't we truly embrace diversity and just let it happen? And if player X in Washington doesn't want to wear a pink sweater out for warm up, you don't have to.
Yeah, and
know?
they have to deal with the wrath. Like they, you know, they have to stand up and say,
that's humanity. That's life. Like
exactly.
you know,
I agree.
if this is your view, one side or the other, you know, support it.
I agree. You should have the choice as a human to, but you also you can't be shielded from maybe the comments on either side, you know?
Nor should you be, really.
Right. Like Tom, I know, you know, some of the Russian comments were that we would get our families would get hurt in Russia if we did this. That's okay. They, you know, they don't have to do it. And they're playing in North America. So yeah, it seems like all of the other things, like there's the Jets do a great like First Nations Indigenous Day, and like all of that just got kiboshed, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's sad and shameful, as I said. In my mind, anyway.
Yeah, I'm glad Brian Burke came out against it. I mean, he's in a position that he can because he's not working for them, but.
Yeah, but he would anyway, even if he was working.
Yeah, he probably would.
That would be Berkey.
Yeah.
Good man that he is. Yeah, it's an interesting issue, and in the era where we're opening bathrooms up so there's no privacy whatsoever in public bathrooms, males and females sharing bathrooms and everything else, and you know, now we're kind of going the other way. It's just a very interesting dynamic, and as a society, obviously, we're trying to figure it out. But it doesn't help not to confront it the way the NHL has chosen to.
What did you say, Tom?
I got a junior high school story about this kind of thing. When I was teaching, my first year teaching, the boys were supposed to shower, right? I just taught boys phys ed, and me and this other guy, the head of phys ed came, and he said, well, is there anything? We said, well, the kids don't shower. And he says, I'll show you what to do. So, and the kids they didn't even know who this guy was, eh? So after the phys ed class, he goes into the locker room, strips down. He says, I'm going to show them what to do. He strips down and he showers in front of all the kids and then gets changed. And like not one kid showered, eh? And me and this Rick guy, we were laughing because, I don't know, he was just kind of out of touch with everything. It was a pretty funny thing that happened. But it's not like when I took swimming at the YMCA when I was like 10. They didn't allow us to wear any bathing suits.
Yeah, my dad took YMCA swimming and there was no bathing suits allowed.
So we're all around there. That was a weird one.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's, you know, that's been, you know, in North America for men for a long time. And yet in Europe, women's bodies are more used to being out and open in the public. Whereas here, it is women that have always been sort of closed and confined, and men that have been open and all over the place.
And I took Sate to in the 80s to Germany, Switzerland to play. We went. It was Bad Tolz, so it was a bath, you know, one of those hot spring things. So I'm thinking there must be an opening in the wall or something. I can hear all these girls. And I look around. I realize we're all changing in the same room in the shower. So there's a totally different view in Europe, right?
I do like that at the tennis club that we go to, they have a men's and women's area, and then they have a family area. I like that, especially as you know, for mothers of sons and stuff. Like it's nice to be able to go into a place where you know what you're getting yourself into, and then have, you know, privacy in other spaces.
Yeah.
I have an related story. Playing in Europe with a senior team that qualified to go to a tournament because it was in the Allen Cup, and our trainer uh, came into our room and he said you share showers with the opposition, and the oppositions were the Czechs. And the trainer came in and says, "You guys had better wait. You're going to be embarrassed because they look like athletes. They're fit, they're cut, they're trained." And we were just a bunch of guys playing hockey was the reality. And I
Who won
remember
the game?
like it was yesterday, but common joint showers with the opposition. And I don't think you do that in North America, but
Who won the game, Wally?
well, we didn't, that's for sure. In fact,
Game was a lesson for everybody. Get fit.
we were very, well, I think typically in Canada, we were sort of egotistical and played the game our way, and we had no idea what being an athlete meant. We thought we knew it all about hockey and it was our game, but we've now learned it's a world game, and you better stay up with it and catch up with it and become an athlete to be an elite player. And we learned that with the women's team, Sammy, and playing in Nagano and realizing how far behind in fitness we were with the US. I bring up the story how fit they looked as I walked down the long hallway between dressing rooms and seeing them stretching. The Americans had muscle definition, far less body fat. They looked like athletes. And that's the first thing I noticed when I walked by everybody else's dressing room, including our own. And having observed that and lived through it, that's why Silver Show got extra money from the federal government to invest in dryland testing and training for, I think it was 6 weeks we were in Valcarce, because we were so far behind in fitness. And all that season, losing every game, we overtrained deliberately to catch up. We centralized longer, but not for 18 months like the Americans did in 1998. But there was a tremendous lesson there. And when we got into the issue of how you dressed in the dressing room, or showered or not in the dressing room, I never gave it any thought. I said, I don't even know if Tim knew, but I imagine you all just went in and showered. You didn't cover yourselves to shower, and that's my imagination. And now I think it appears to be the way to go. Times have changed, and possibly it's should have been a lot sooner.
Well, and I think it less about at the adult level, necessarily people covering themselves, but maybe just rinks need to have stalls, just so that somebody has a private area to go into. But the Olympic team was the first time I showered with other women. I mean, it's funny. A funny story about this. I was at the Juno Cup, and I was at the Juno Cup. You're with like rock stars and musicians and stuff, and there's a separate women's change room, and most of these women had never played hockey at any level, really. And I can remember that, and obviously you're in a hockey locker room, so it's like an open shower, and several women just coming up to me and saying, like, do I go in there at the same time as you, or do I wait for you to come out? Like, how does that work? And just it being so normal as a hockey player. And then thinking about that for these rock stars, like, this must be such a weird thing to have played an hour, to have like skated for an hour, and now we're going to go all get naked together. Like, this must be such a bizarre thing. And that was the first time that really made me think about it, to be like, what we do is really weird. Like, anyways.
Well, when you say it that way, Sammy, the rule makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because our normal was weird.
Yeah, or like, why was that normal? Maybe because it was, heralded back from the day that